Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. I got a tag video for you today. I I think I've mentioned in previous videos. I'm gonna confess I'm losing track of what I've filmed and uploaded and what I have filmed and trashed. I have trashed a lot in the last month or two. Um, so I think on the channel I've mentioned that I'm doing Herkyad. Yes, I posted the 24-hour reading challenge, which was for Herkyad, so you guys know. Or you might know, I'm doing Herkyad. Herkyad is the hardest reading challenge you will ever do. It is hosted by Stephanie or Q over at the channel Qwerty. I will link that down below. And also link down below, I will, if I can find it, I will link the original tag, the original creator slash video for this tag, but I will also link Qwerty's announcement video for this particular tag, or I'll link her version of this tag, because that's why I'm doing it. Excuse me. As part of Herkyad, every month Q puts out secret prompts, which do not need to be completed in order to complete Herkyad. But if you complete them, they can definitely help. So the November secret prompt is to do the, what is this called? I'll get around to it later tag. And for any book that I complete from the list of books I'm away to mention, if I complete that, I get to add, or I get to count a book that I previously read within 2025 before her kid started towards a couple of the prompts. I don't know if I actually will or not, but I figure at the very least I can do the tag. And if I'm going to do the tag, I might as well film it and let you guys see it as well. So let's just jump into it, shall we? The first prompt is to choose. Sorry, as I'm looking over here, I have my notes. We're trialing this whole having notes things, and a list of the tags. But yeah, the first one is to choose a classic that you've been meaning to read but keep putting off. So every book that I've chosen is part of my physical TBR, and I don't have a lot of classics on there. But one that I do have, and I think it was published in 1924, so I think it's safe to say it's a classic at this point. And that is The Call by Edith Ayrton Zangwill. This was published by Persephone Books. And one of the things I really love about this publisher is that I bought this at their store down in Bath, and when you walk in, it's literally impossible to judge a book by its cover, because every single book looks like this. It is just the grey all round with the white title by author. What Persephone do is they find books that were previously published however many years ago that have since been forgotten, and they republish them, breathing new life into them. So yeah, The Call is basically, we are following, gosh, what's her name? We're following Ursula. Ursula is a scientist. This is set turn of the century, turn of the 20th century, so early 1900s. Ursula is a scientist, or attempting, well, she's working in science as a chemist, and it's basically following her and her career, and as she is having to fight the dueling commands, or she's having to balance the fighting demands of, as a woman in the 1900s, 1910s, how to have a career, balancing having a career, a meaningful, successful career, with the demands of family and all those expectations, but also politics and the political background, particularly women's politics in the early 1900s. And this is set against the backdrop of the suffragist movement. I think this is going to look at a bit of sort of, as well as all those dueling and fighting demands, we're going to have a bit of a look at suffragist and the suffragette movement. They were very different movements. And the author did state that the suffragette movement is not the point of this book, but it is a contributing theme to just all of the demands. The overarching theme is just all of these conflicting demands that women were having to face and balance. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. But I've owned it for a couple of years, and I'll get around to it eventually. I'll get around to it. Next up is a book on your shelf that you haven't read yet. So for this one, I have chosen Blood of the Covenant by Andy J.N. McCrae. This is, although it's technically YA, the author does say that if we had an officially recognised new adult category, that's where this would go. So it is on the older side of young adult. And it is about a group of friends who, from where the book starts, I think 2 or 3 years previous, they had been attacked by werewolves. Some survived, some didn't. At least one, at least I think our main character's sister did not survive that attack. And our group of friends have now turned into werewolves. And so it is following them as they try, but a few years later, they are still trying to come to terms with everything, adjusting to life as werewolves. This is going to be dark. This is not going to be a romanticized version of Shifters. So they're having to deal with all of that. The trauma, it was a really brutal attack. So they're still trying to deal with the PTSD and all the nightmares and everything that comes with it. And on top of that, we have got some characters who are transitioning. I think female to male, not 100% certain. Having to deal with all of the prejudice that comes with being queer or falling under that queer umbrella, either being trans or gay or whatever. It's going to look a lot at various different disabilities as well. There's a character with autism, and they're just all having to deal with all of this. Lots of dark themes in it. The main reason I picked this up, I genuinely do think this is going to be an interesting read. I'm not 100% certain I'm going to love it, but who knows? But the main reason I actually picked this up is that Andy McCrae this is his debut novel, but he is a very local author. He lives just north of Inverness. Once a month, I attend a fantasy book club at my local Waterstones. And it just so happened to be that a few months ago, when I was there, there was an event immediately after our book club in the same space that we gather, and that was Andy debuting. That was his book launch. So I figured I would stick around, and yeah, everything he was talking about and his passion and why he wrote it, this is deeply personal to him, and a lot of the non-paranormal themes that go through it. It struck a chord. I was like, his passion really came through, and I was like, you know what? I should support a local independent author. So I bought his book, and I got it signed. I think I got it signed. I'm fairly certain I got it signed. I did. I got it signed. Huzzah. So that's that one. That is a book that's on my shelf that I haven't read yet. Honestly, for that prompt, I probably could have just sent you guys a picture of my TBR shelves. Next up, we have got a book you recently read, but a book you recently acquired but haven't read yet. So for this one, just sticking with the theme of shifters, I guess, we're going to go with Mate by Ellie Hazelwood. This only got released a couple of weeks ago. I will actually be using this one for, my October book for the new releases Herkiad prompt. This is the follow-up to Bride. We're going to be following Serena. And this is going to be wholly werewolf-centric instead of werewolf and vampire. That's all I know. I don't need to know more. It's an Ally Hazelwood. I know I'm going to adore this. And it's probably, other than one other book on this pile, it's probably the one I'm going to get round to quickest. Because I will have this read in November at some point. Next up, we have a book you've had forever, but have not yet read. We say a book we've had forever. What if I told you that I have owned this book for over 20 years? Probably closer. Definitely well over the 20 years. I specifically picked this book though because in the last sort of like 6 months or so, just through coincidence, I brought this book up in conversation a couple of times. More, at least 2 or 3 times now. It's getting to the point where it's like, I actually probably might be approaching finally the time where I properly pick this one up and give it a really good shot. Because if I'm mentioning it this often, a book that I've owned this long, and this is not a popular book. I doubt any of you, unless I specifically have told you about this book, I doubt any of you watching this will have actually heard of this book. So yeah, if I'm raising it, it probably means we're getting close to... this might finally be me getting round to it later. We might have finally be approaching that later. And that is Death Scent by Robin Jarvis. Robin Jarvis, think anything of his that you've more likely to recognise is going to be The Dark Portal, which is the first book in the Deptford Mice trilogy. He writes middle grade to YA fantastical horror. This is basically set in an alternative universe, where an alternative Elizabethan Tudor universe where Elizabeth Tudor is celebrating her 178th year on the throne. So I'm just going to read you guys the back of it because I don't know really how to summarize this. Across the heavens, a mysterious object came blazing, swerving and spinning in all directions, growing larger with every passing moment. There was no time to panic, no time to raise alarm. Out in the deep darkness float the 93 isles of the beatified realm of Britain. Elizabeth Tudor is celebrating her 178th year on the throne of Englandia. Into this world, a place with no living animals and arcane technology, appears a visitor, bringing with him strange devices and sinister practices. He's about to change things forever. I do remember vaguely trying to start this when I was younger, and when I say when I was younger, I'm talking like early to mid-teens. This book was published in 2001, I believe, which means I was wasn't quite at that reading level just yet. I want to say I was 13 or 14 when I bought this book. You can see how yellowed it's getting. Like, it's sat on my shelves for a long time. It was brand new when I bought it, and it cost $5.99. This would cost like a tenner these days. It's almost doubled in price. It's there. It's been on my shelves for a while. But what I remember is that the opening scene is that we have... It's literally a deathbed scene, and it was just so atmospheric and creepy that it was too atmospheric and creepy for a younger Amy. But I think this slightly older Amy, who's read a lot more dark and gruesome stuff since then, is going to have a much better time with it. So yeah, this is the book that has quite literally been on my shelves forever. Death Scent by Robin Jarvis. Next up, which is the 5th prompt, it's a book a friend recommended that you haven't read yet. Book 3 of Heaven Official's Blessing. My friend Zoe recommended that I read this entire series. I have read the first 2. I finished volume 2 probably at least 2 years ago now, or a year ago. 2 years. It's been a while. It's been a while. I don't know why I keep putting this off. I really enjoyed books 1 and 2. I just, yeah. I think because I know Zoe absolutely loves this, and I'm terrified of. It's weird, even though if I disliked this, I know she'd be totally fine. We have a certain amount of overlap. We also have a certain amount of books where we just really do not agree on. Ellie Hazelwood being our main author here, my favorite romance. She hates her. So I know that it would be completely fine, and it's ridiculous because I know I really enjoyed the first 2 books, but I just keep putting off book 3. And it's not like it's the final. It's not like I'm putting off finishing a series, because there's 8 volumes in total. So, and I'm not afraid of a commitment. I've read all of Grandmaster. You know, I read a lot of books in a year. I'm not afraid of a commitment, but Heaven Officials. Heaven Officials blessing. The whole story, we are following Julien, who is an immortal or a god. Julien has ascended to godhood 3 times now. He's been expelled twice. On this 3rd ascension, he is basically having to essentially pay off his debts to the rest of the gods at this point, because he's caused so much chaos. He ends up spending a lot of time in the mortal realm as well, just trying to help out and establish his presence as a god again. And we also have Hua Cheng, who is one of the ruling gods of the ghost realm. So he's not a god, he's actually technically a ghost. He is a little bit enamored with Julien, and it's totally fine. We get it. But we also spent a lot of time back in the past when Julien was mortal, and before he ascended for the first time, and we get to see how their paths are intertwining a lot. This is the ultimate slow burn. Julien is very oblivious a lot of the time. It's lovely. And it's just absolutely wonderful. I'll get around to it at some point. Next up, a book you're procrastinating on. Now, I've chosen a book I'm procrastinating on, but it's also a book that I intend to start imminently. And when I say imminently, I mean tomorrow. Possibly tonight, but definitely tomorrow. And that is because I'm going on a work trip. I live in Inverness. I have to take a train down to Birmingham tomorrow, which is, it's something like 8 hours on the train down there. And then on Friday I've got 8 hours back, and obviously I've got the evenings. I've got a conference Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but in theory I'm going to have a little bit of time in the evenings when I'm not spending time with my colleagues. So I've got plenty of reading time coming up this week, and I plan and intend on only taking 1 book, and that is Valor by John Gwynne. This is the 2nd book in the Faithful and the Fallen series. Now, when I say I've been procrastinating this book, I read Malice for at least 4 years ago. It was actually one of my first reading vlogs. It was, I want to say it was like the 3rd or 4th video I did for this channel. I did a reading vlog for Malice. And I can link that down below. But we will all, if you've seen that, like there's proof, there's genuine, tangible proof on this channel that I really enjoyed Malice, and I was really excited to jump back into, to jump into Valor and continue this series. To the point that I even bought the book. And for 4 years now it has sat on my shelf. And I don't know, I seem to have gotten into this thing where I never used to be intimidated by big books, but I keep putting it off because it's a bigger book. So one of my things this year that I've been trying to do is to get over that and read some bigger books. So I've decided now is the time to just bite the bullet. The Faithful and the Fallen is, although technically this is a modern fantasy, it reads a lot like more classic fantasy. John Gwynne has been very heavily inspired by Tolkien, by Feist, by Eddings. and it really comes through. So this is very, very multi-POV. We're following a whole host of characters, but there is a prophecy where it will be, oh gosh, there's basically a prophecy that this savior, the bright star, will emerge and save their world from the war and ruin and everything that's going on. Um, but obviously, prophecies are, you know, they they don't point out that exact person. They can be very, very vague. And what I'm really enjoying about this is it's exploring how prophecies and how things can be interpreted. Where we have at the moment two main contenders for who could be the bright star. I know who I'm rooting for, I know who I'm following. I think it's going to be the same for the majority of everyone who reads this. Um, but we've also got a second contender who this character genuinely believes that they are the bright star and that everything they are doing is for the greater good. And we all know how much damage the greater good can cause. So I really like the way John Gwynne is playing with that. And there's a lot of your classic tropes. We've got farm boys, we've got found family, we've got prophecies, we've got going on quests, we've got animal companions. This kind of is everything we all want and love in an epic fantasy. Right now feels like it's in here. The amount of depth he puts into his character building, especially given how many characters there are, I kid you not. Our list of characters is literally 5 pages long. Not all of them have a POV, but that's just the main named characters, obviously. So this is our main characters, our side characters, and all of that. Despite all of that, they all feel really individual and fully fleshed out, which is just, yeah. I have actually read the first 20 pages. Just so you look there, you do see a bookmark. And I know I'm going to absolutely love this. But I have spent a long time putting this off. So it is finally time to go in there. And let's just do it. And then finally, the last prompt was, it was what is the next book on your TBR? We know I don't do TBRs. I do TNBRs, to never be reads, because as soon as I put something on a TBR and it's like, this is the next book I have to read, I'm just not going to do it. So what I did, and I'll put the picture up here, is I went onto my Storygraph and I picked the first book that appeared in my want to reads or to be reads little section on the front page. And the first one that popped up was Cake Off at the Cat Cafe. And this is just a cozy contemporary rom-com about a girl who opens a cafe. She opens a cat cafe. And I think there's gonna be, it's not quite enemies to lovers, but possibly like rivals to lovers, with the owner of a competing cafe. So I think it's going to be like cat cafe versus dog cafe. I don't really know anything else, and I don't need to know anything else. This is going to scratch the I just want a cheesy popcorn romance, and this is what that's going to be. Also, it's a really cute cover. Look at it. Just look at it. It's absolutely wonderful. Yeah. So that's us. I also really like that book got chosen because everything else I spoke about was really dark or serious, and even the covers are all very like dark. Let's see if I can hold them up together. And then you've just got, Cake Off at the Cat Cafe, which is just light and breezy, and it's just gonna be like a really refreshing palette cleanser at some point, I think. But yeah, everything is just like, it's all dark and greys and reds and blues. And then we've got Cake Off at the Cat Cafe, which is all pinks and pastels and utterly fluffy. But yeah, these are the books that I have been putting off and that I will get around to eventually. As usual, tags ask for who you're tagging to do this next. I don't tag people. If you're watching this and you want to make an attempt at it, I fully encourage. I would be excited to see what your answers are. Do you want to let me know down in the comments any books that you've been putting off that you will eventually get round to? You'll get to them. You will. No judgment here. I genuinely believe that you also will eventually get around to these books as well. But yeah, with all of that said, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!